All right, guys. Kurt Klaper here with highschoolwrestlingmatches.com. We've got an exciting show for you tonight. We got the renowned Mac from Illinois Matman, and longtime sports fan, longtime sports writer, sports simulcaster, broadcaster. If you're in Illinois, you know who he is. But we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk about a few things. Before we do, though, if you're watching this on highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, I just want to invite you to check back frequently. We'll keep all the podcasts from around the country posted here and archived here, as well as we have an email list that we send out a free wrestling technique video every day. So if you want to get signed up for that, it's called the Daily Dose, and we'll shoot you an email with some technique daily. So go ahead and check that out. And Mac, you there?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to turn the time over to you to introduce our other guests, and we'll go from there, all right?
Okay, this is Mac Boland of IllinoisMatmen.com, and tonight, for all you listeners out there nationally, we have a particularly interesting cast. We have head coach Mike Palazzo, Lake Highland Prep, Florida; Joe Gomez, assistant coach at Glenbard North; and Austin Gomez, wrestler, two-time state champ, also from Glenbard North. And the interesting connection tonight is all three of these gentlemen are part of what we would call here in Illinois the Gold Dot Nation. So, gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Right off, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to the one man that all three of you have in common, and that would be head coach Mark Hahn, Illinois Wrestling Hall of Fame coach, and he's over 500 victories right now. I don't know what the current count is, but it's pretty amazing. So let's see. I'm gonna go age before beauty. So we'll start with you, Mike.
I'm the prettiest one. Yeah.
Definitely
you know. 2 seasons ago, I'm getting ready to do my preview for the Dvorak for Illinois Matmen, and I'm looking over the list of teams, and I see this Florida team on there, and I'm saying to myself, why on earth would a Florida team be coming up here to Dvorak, in December? And back then, we used to think of Florida wrestling. It was Brandon, Florida, and everybody else. The Kyle and Kevin Nordstrom, Rossi Bruno, Clark Glass, et cetera, And then I kind of did a little bit of looking, and I said, wow, these guys are for real. I looked at the lineup. I looked at some of the guys and the rankings, and, it was a little bit of a surprise. And then somebody on the Illinois Matmen Forum said, oh, yeah, and by the way, they're coached by a former Glenbard North wrestler. And not only, and from what I heard from Coach Hahn, you were his first individual state champ. So first, just go ahead and go back in time and talk about your time wrestling for Glenbard North.
Well, I got to tell you, I was just home. So I was just visiting my family, who lives in St. Charles, which is right down the street from these guys. And I don't get back too often, but I was there for about 10 days, and I went on a little search to try to find Coach. And I got to tell you, not a whole lot has changed. It's amazing, but I don't know. I graduated in 1989, so somebody could figure out how many years. But it's a lot. And I can remember real distinctly working on Coach's farm as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, those summers out there baling hay and hauling hay and doing all kinds of stuff and working out before we had, getting to the school, doing a lift, and then showing up to the farm to work all day. And what's amazing about it is that I don't know how many years later, but it's 7 years later, 25 years later, and I go on a little search to find Coach Hahn, and what do I find? Some Glenbard North wrestlers out on that same farm doing exactly the same thing.
Awesome.
And I got to tell you, it's a great lesson in humility. It's amazing to see, how that process has developed so many young men and made our lives so much better. And you don't really realize the gift the guy's giving you while he's, feeding you a few M&Ms and paying you like $1. Back then it was like $1 an hour. Keeping you out there all day long. Some would call it slave labor, but you realize the gifts that this guy has given are absolutely amazing. There's no wonder why that things that he's touched and the guys that he's been around have done some special things, because he's a superhuman being. He really is.
Okay. Real quick then, I'm going to go to Joe Gomez, and of course, you were two-time state champ. You also grew up under Coach Hahn, and went to University of Illinois, and as I recall, Coach Palazzo went to Indiana. And they say, okay, well, you can never go home, but yet here, here you are. So, first, talk about your early days when you were wrestling for Glenbard North, and what it was like back then.
Well, when I first started, before actually freshman year, I used to watch Glenbard North a lot. I actually watched Coach Palazzo all the time when I was a kid, and actually one day I told myself that I was going to be just as good as Mike, and I wanted to wrestle for the black and gold just because everything they stand for, just the tradition. They had that fear, that tough guy mentality, and I mean that's what I loved. And so walking as a freshman, I believed that I was going to be a state champ. But I knew that the only person that was going to get me there, or the only program that was going to get me there, was Glenbard North. So I mean, I had high expectations of myself, but Coach Hahn really believed in me. So it was a fun experience. I mean, I'm 31 years old, and man still treats me like I'm 14 again. Sometimes I have to remind him that I'm a 31-year-old man, but that doesn't faze him. Like Mike said, he's a wonderful man. I mean, he's done a really good job with the program, and it's fun actually going back and coaching with him. I've learned a lot, not only as an athlete, but as a coach. I see different things. I see different views, and that's because of him. Maybe I was closed-minded right after college, but now I'm very open to coaching and learning, and I owe all that to Mark Hahn and and the rest of the staff at Glenbard North, and it's a fun experience. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's a true family camaraderie, and it's really fun, and it's good to be back, and hopefully I'm here for a while.
Okay, quick question. When you talk about tradition, when did the dyeing of the hair blonde start?
That was all I heard things before, but I know when I competed in 2004, I didn't have hair. I still had the same haircut as in 8th grade, so it was kind of impossible for me to do that. But I don't remember any of my teammates doing that whatsoever. So
yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, he's smiling.
Brooks got definitely loosened up on that stuff, because I'm going to go back I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm telling you, there's no way in 1980. 8, 9, he was letting anybody dye their hair.
No, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just curious when that started, because now it's like you said. Now it's a tradition, right? When the regional, sectional, state starts, like all the Glenbard North guys come out there with the yellow hair.
It's a really good thing. I mean, they all do it. All 14 of them, and
absolutely, it's a camaraderie thing. It's great.
Yeah, the JV2 guys do it the week of their conference. JV1 guys do it, and then our varsity guys do it. And it's annoying to a lot of people, but it's probably part of the reason why they do it. A lot of people don't like it, but it's a strong tradition these kids have, and again, it's a camaraderie that no one else will understand.
No.
Right, and don't get me wrong, I'm not even going to ask you what the gold dot stands for, because I know that.
Whatever you want it to be, man.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not even going to ask.
Just one more thing I'd throw in there, but I could actually remember painting that top of that barn top for the first time with my older brothers who were wrestlers at Glenbard North. in like 1984, 85 is when that dot got put on there. And I think every year you guys kind of touch it up, and because it's not looking so bad right now. And that's a whole lot of years of a yellow dot on the top of a barn top. So it's pretty neat to see.
Yes, but that's great. I mean, that and part of wrestling is that tradition. And I like I've said, I've always said that like wrestling is a family affair. And like I look at Joe there, and then his nephew Austin, and of course Joe, you can speak about Hector, and if you would, about Hector and Gomez Academy, and the full involvement.
Well, I mean, so when I started wrestling, my uncle Hector obviously got me into it. He actually, my aunt and Hector, they took custody of me when I was 8 years old. So right from the get-go, I was wrestling. I started wrestling when I was like 6, 7 years old, and I really didn't start getting good. I think I had a really bad experience the first couple of years. I was always losing. But going to 5th grade, Hector really became hands-on. He left Glenbard Cougars, where he was coaching, and spent a lot of time with me. And I mean, I just blossomed from there. I went to college, and he told me when I think I was a junior in college, he said he was gonna start his own club. Now, if you know my uncle, he's a big dreamer. He loves to dream big, and he makes great things happen. He would always call me and tell me this. I'm like, Hector, you're never gonna do it. Whatever. But sure enough, the junior year, that summer, I was coming to Carroll Stream, and his one mat, and he didn't tell me about this. It was a surprise. And his one mat said Gomez Wrestling Academy. It had the big 2 banners of me. It's like, oh my God, I'll never question you ever again. I'll never, So I mean, again, he's a dreamer, and and he's done well for himself. He has his club. I believe it's 11 to 12 years going now.
Yeah.
He's had some successful wrestlers in college, Stanford, Michigan. You name it, they're there. They're there, and now he has his not only Austin wrestled, myself, but his 2 daughters, Alexis and Austin. She took Alexis and
right.
Alexis.
Well, I was just going to say at Fargo, you had a brother-sister combination who both made the finals.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, Alexis just started probably about a year ago.
Wow.
And she ran with it, and she's very successful. The youngest, the best Gomez, is the one up and coming. That's my opinion. She's about, how old is she? 10 years old. She's the best Gomez.
Wow.
She's the best technique. She's definitely tougher than all of us. There's no doubt about it. So.
Okay, real quick now, I'm gonna go to Austin, and you're a 2-time state champ, 3-time All-Stater. And congratulations on winning the Junior National Freestyle Championship.
Thank you.
Now, I want to put this in perspective for a lot of people out here nationally, because when I talk about not just winning or placing, looking at the quality of the competition that you were facing and some of your wins, and for those who don't know, you have a win over Rudy Yates.
Yeah, it's freshman year.
Yep. In the 3rd place match. Very few people in the state of Illinois can say that. Yeah. And then the guys you had to beat the following years in Jason Renneria and Tony Madrigal, also national level competitors, and you have a win over Justin Mejia from Clovis.
Yeah.
So your resume is huge, and when I say, okay, yeah, he's a 3-time all-state or 2-time champ, it's not just that, it's the guys you had to beat to get there. And particularly I want to go to this last season's state finals, where you had an easy win in sectionals, and then you got in the state finals, and boom, you get caught, you're down, in probably one of the 2 most exciting matches in the entire Class 3A state tournament, other than, like Louis Hayes' victory. What was going through your mind? First period, boom.
First period, get off my back right away. To be able to wrestle, I gotta get off my back. That was the main thing, and just right after that first period was, all right, let's focus now and go get takedowns. We go over situations all the time in the practice room where we're down, 2 points with 30 seconds left. Go get a takedown. Let him up. Take him down again. Win the match. So, really, it's all I do all my work in practice. So all the work I did in practice just paid off on the mat. Just take him down, let him up. Take him down, let him up.
So you weren't panicking. I mean, what was your focus?
Get takedowns, score points. To win that match, I had to score points. So.
Okay. And Joe, real quick, you're sitting Matt's side. What's going through your head right there during that match?
I was freaking out. I was like, what, I mean, if I had a quarter for every time Austin's been in a scenario like that since he started wrestling, I would honestly have a mansion or something. I mean, he lives for those matches. He's a gamer. But again, we've gone over situations like that. And to be honest with you, we've gone over that scenario with Madrigal. What's going to happen, and I told him, make sure you get off your back. And to be honest with you, going into the second period, I told my uncle this all the time. When I looked at Austin, he looked at me. I'm pretty sure he gave me a smirk, like, "Don't worry about it." I don't. I'm freaking out. I'm going crazy. But he's like, "I got you. I got this. You can calm down." So typical Austin fashion. He came back strong, and and again, those are the matches that as an athlete you live for, and those are the matches as a coach somewhat don't want to live for, but it happens.
Right. Okay, so let's see, you're an Iowa State University commit, and what made you choose the Cyclones?
The coaching staff was really part of it. You can't get any better than an Olympic champion, world champion as a head coach, and then 3 world team members as assistant coach. So it's a perfect fit for me. I love the wrestling room. I love their facilities. It's a great education. That was really important for me, was getting an education first, because wrestling's not going to be there forever. So I have something to fall back on.
Okay. And you were also currently, now, Joe, you were let's see if I get this straight now, a 2-time All-Clash member on the tournament team. Okay. And Austin, you're a 3-time, have a shot at being a 4-timer. So this year you were 126-pound all-tournament team as a junior and a state champ. And then, Joe, you were also on the tournament team, a state champ at 125 pounds. So 125-pound Joe Gomez, 126-pound Austin. Who wins?
I'll tech him for sure.
As Austin's coach, I can't break him down, so I got to keep bringing him on. So, he's a sensitive kid. No, again, you get to ask that all the time. He has every arsenal in the world. He'd definitely be hard to wrestle. Luckily enough, I have my buddy Angel Escobedo up there.
Right.
Throw him around a little bit for me. So.
Yeah, and of course, you and Angel Escobedo participated in one of the most epic high school wrestling matches at Conant. And like I said, if we can ever get that video back up, it was a good one. It was a great match.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Again, Angel, he's a great competitor, and he's also a great coach, and I'm actually really excited. People ask me this all the time now that Austin committed. How do you feel? Being Angel coaching Austin, I'm very excited about it, because I know what Angel's about as a person, off and on the mat, as a coach, as a father, as a husband, and he's a great role model for Austin, so I'm very excited about it.
All right, and speaking of great matches, and Austin, I'm going to go back to you here real quick. Dvorak this year. Now, you only had 1 loss this whole season, correct?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Coach Palazzo. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's smart. Yeah, I hate to go there, but I got to. That was you and Joey Silva.
Well, I tell you what, I'll touch on that. As a coach, I knew Joey Silva was going to be ready, because I know Mike Palazzo, and Austin and him had a close one last year, and this was the semifinals.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had a close one. So I knew Joey was going to be ready. And again, those two will go back and forth. And they're both great competitors. And he's very well coached, and I knew it was going to be tough. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy. And So, and again, those one of those matches you just love to wrestle, to coach against and to watch Austin wrestle,
Yep, absolutely. So Austin, now after that, what did you take away from that match?
I refocused after that. Going in that match, I thought I was the man. I thought I was going to be beat. I was like, all right, I'm going to go undefeated this year. I'm going to win a state title. And that really set me back. I was like, wow, I need to double check myself. So after that match, I was in that room, what was it, probably Monday morning, pushing myself to the limit, working after practice, going on shots, getting to my offense, getting my hands moving. So after that match, it was a whole new Austin Gomez. I got to thank Joey Silver for giving me that loss because that made me regroup.
Ultimately, we're working together.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and for all those listeners right here, that is exactly where your mindset needs to be.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to ask you now, okay, Austin, you're a two-time state champ. You just won a junior national freestyle title. So going into your senior year, other than obviously winning another state title, what's going to be your focus?
Really prove that I'm the best there is in the state of Illinois and in the country. I have a shot in October to prove that I'm number one in the country at Who's Number One. So this season, I'm really going to prove my dominance to everyone and show that I'm the best there is.
All righty, now I'm going to bounce back to the Flow Wrestling National Head Coach of the Year here, Mike. Real quick now, I looked, like I said, when I first found out about Blake Highland Prep, and I looked over.
Hey, Mac.
Yeah.
Mac, let me just interject for just 1 second.
Sure.
So, because not everybody listening to this knows Illinois wrestling as well as you guys do.
Okay.
And I've been, including myself, and I've been just listening here, and this is a pretty cool conversation we have here. So if you're not totally following everything that's happening, Austin, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I just learned this from your conversation now. Austin's only loss this season was to one of Coach Mike's
Joey
kids,
Silva
right?
from Lake Highland Prep.
Okay, so I just wanted to reiterate that so everybody listening knows. So Austin, who we just heard from, state champ with one loss, Fargo national champ, only loss is to Silva, who's Mike Palazzo's one of his kids, and now we're going to hear more from Mike. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to point that out for those that don't know Illinois wrestling as well. Thanks.
Oh, okay, and real quick, Mike, now this past season, as far as Florida wrestling is concerned, you guys had 9, I believe this is correct, 9 individual state champs, which was a record.
Yeah.
And you scored the most points in the state tournament, which was also a record. And then, of course, Coach of the Year. Now, you went to Florida. When you went to Florida, you weren't actually intending on coaching.
No. I was completely disconnected from wrestling for about, I'm going to say 10 years, maybe more.
Wow.
I came here, I built a business, I did a lot of things. The last thing I was thinking about was wrestling. But yet it was always kind of in the back of my mind, believe it or not. You get yourself distracted, you start trying to make money and build a business and kind of be an ordinary civilian. And I don't know, luckily I was blessed. I was blessed by somebody in town here who knew that I had, wrestled in college and that I was an Illinois state champion. And every time I ran into the guy, he would be like, "You got to go help my kid's high school. You got to go help them. These guys don't know what they're doing. You got to help them. You got to help them." And I don't know what it was, but one day I decided not to go play golf or something. I said, let me go try to do something a little bit more productive. And I got sucked in. And next thing you know, I took over the program. The guy who was coaching the program, he had coached at Lake Highland for, I think, 8 years, and gotten fired. We didn't have a coach, and I said, all right, I'll do it. And that team went from 25 kids who probably really didn't know what wrestling was to 2 really quick. and then it all kind of started from there. And I just got completely saturated in it and found a way to just make it my full-time job. That's what I do now. I am a 100% wrestling coach. I run the Central Florida Wrestling Academy. It's about 105 kids strong right now, and it seems to be going. And needless to say, I think that wrestling in Central Florida, in the city of Orlando, has grown exponentially. And and like I said, I would have to say that I was blessed to be put in the situation and kind of directed to maybe something that I might be all right at.
Yeah, I guess. From what I'm looking at here, real quick, so you've had 4 team titles in the last 5 years.
Yeah, we took second once in between there, and it was upsetting day.
Yeah.
We've gotten past it, but I'm trying to figure it out.
No, and last year, last season, going into Dvorak, I mean, again, when I got ready to do my preview, just looking at your lineup with again Joey Silva, with Jake Brindley, Bryce Rogers, Elijah Cleary, Golden. I mean, you guys had a loaded lineup, and were pretty much a prohibitive favorite, in my opinion, going in there. So, as a coach, when your program started to develop, what is it that it seems to me anyway, you looked at expanding your guys' competition to more of a national, to a national level?
Yeah, I mean, in the spring and summertime, these guys we're in a lot of places. I got a lot of frequent flyer miles. We work real hard on making sure that we spend a lot of time in Jersey, a lot of time in New York. A lot of time with like journeyman events, and we're seeing Super 32 is a big one on our list, and we really try to ramp it up and make sure we do, we come out and we're ready for it. And that process has really started 6 years ago. It's not something that happened overnight. It's just that nobody knew about this group of kids because we weren't so good 6 years ago.
Sure.
But they've taken their lumps and they've learned how to wrestle, and a lot of these guys started when they were in 6th grade, and now they're things are coming to fruition, and they're a junior or a senior or a sophomore, and and they're doing pretty well. They're doing well. They're living the life, and they're kind of saturated in a whole new culture of what's been created here, which is just a whole lot of hard work. It's you're either doing it or you're not. And, there's really no in between here.
All right. Now, you guys are going to be competing in the Clash next year. Yeah. Is it your first time going to the Clash?
It is. We're in the Clash. We're in the Ironman, and we'll be in Flows Who's Number One. So
wow.
We got our hands full. We're going to wrestle a real deal schedule, and even within our own state, sometimes Florida gets discounted, but I can tell you that there's some real deal individuals running around here, and there's some real good wrestling, and we make sure that every weekend we're in the place to be.
Sure. And it's funny because, again, 2 seasons ago, I talked to Lance Hughes. He's the tournament director at the Clash, and he constantly asked me, well, what are teams that maybe we should add? And I mentioned Providence from Illinois last year, but you guys were like the first ones who came to my mind, from out of state. And when I said prep school, the first thing, even though I know you guys are private, he thought, oh, well, we can't have a 5-year. I said, no. They're a 4-year school. They're private, but they compete in the Florida State Championship, etc. And then, I looked on the list and I saw you guys were in there. And quite frankly, looking, ahead at the Clash preview for next year, just based on the teams, I'm looking at you guys, I'm looking at St. Edwards, and I'm looking at Oak Park River Forest, and right there is probably 3 of the teams that have a good shot of being in the championship bracket right off, just looking ahead.
Well, I hope so. That's well, we got a lot of work to do from now until then, but we're gonna do our best to put together the best team that we can, and I think we have the guns. I think we got the guys doing the work.
Well, you're returning most of your state champs.
Yeah, we do. There's just one guy, Elijah Clary's at Ohio State now. He's
Nice.
came back for he's here in town. He's been here for just a couple weeks. He's working camps and stuff. He's sorely missed because he's been a huge part of our program, but he's the only guy, just him. And we got a lot of young guys. Some guys that maybe people don't know their name yet, but I think they will real soon.
Amen. And I looked again. Looked up on the internet, and the campus and the facilities you guys have is well, I'm going to say spectacular. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing place. Academically, people don't realize the kind of pressure that these guys are on. But our team had a 3.75 accumulated last year. So they're not just doing it, on the wrestling mat, but they really are living a life outside of this crazy thing called wrestling and trying to prepare themselves for life. And it's something we talk about all the time here, and I really, really try to push it and press it. It's really the only way it could exist on this campus, to tell you the truth. Culturally, wrestling at this level would probably have, scared a whole lot of people. But if you can keep all that other stuff intact and get it all done at once, people start to understand. And they look.
Oh, sure. And you're basically in what is primarily a football state.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, football reigns. I mean, we got to do a lot to get noticed. I can tell you that. But it's okay.
Okay, and I'm going to bounce back here to Joe and Austin here real quick. And, we talk about programs, and not just, individuals, but programs and sustaining programs. And just, you go back, and when you talk about Illinois wrestling, obviously Glenbard North is always in the conversation. And, you see it because guys make a commitment to a full year effort. It's not just, other than obviously some of the upper weights, guys who play football too. But talking about making it a full year commitment, your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids that they really believe in what we're doing, and it's exciting. It's obvious, honestly, it's easier to coach when they buy in and they're all into it. I mean, it's definitely easier to coach than some of those guys who just want to be kind of part timers. And we're fortunate enough that we kind of we fight with football a little bit, but I think we're both wrestling and football community. We both they have strong tradition of both those sports here in Carroll Stream. And again, we have a lot of guys who believe in us and believe in what they're doing, believe in their training partners and et cetera. And so it's a great group to coach, and also legendary Hall of Fame Marconi has a great system. He gets these guys ready when it matters the most, and that's pole season. And time and time again, I think the man's proven that, and he's really a mastermind behind this coaching thing. It's fun to work with, and Mike's familiar with that because Mike has been through the program. He's coach on a little bit, and so again, it's one big formula, but we make it happen.
Okay, and Austin, when did you get the? I mean, were you immediately into wrestling? When did you actually get the bug? When did you feel like, yeah, this is what I want to do?
Well, I kind of really had no choice. My dad wrestled, and then he was coaching, and he'd always had me on his lap. He was telling me, watching Joe, coaching Joe. So I've been around it all my life. So I really started getting the ball rolling when I was 4 or 5. That's when my dad started finally putting me in it. Mm-hmm. And I was hooked right away, you can say. And then, yeah, it was. I was born into it.
A lot of people don't know this about Austin, but Austin would when he was about 3 to 4 years old, when I would be competing in wrestling at the duels at North, he would legitimately be in a Brett Favre jersey, green jersey, in a silver headgear, wrestling a little Chucky doll that's just the size of him, and he would lose. The people who know Austin, they see. I mean, he would throw his headgear, he would get pinned, throw his headgear, and run out of the gym. Well, you've seen a couple of my tantrums, so I can understand throwing headgear and running out, but I didn't lose very often, so I don't know where this losing streak started with him. So he was like a little mascot. He knows me for a long time. They've seen Austin, and he started off in a Brett Favre jersey with mix and matching and losing to a Chucky doll. You know, that's always been around the sport. I think when he was like 2 years old, he had to bring one around his head. You know, he's always, he's a gym rat. He loves wrestling. So
awesome. And again, for the people who don't know Illinois wrestling, when I talk about Glenbard North, which is in Carroll Stream, Illinois, if you talk about Illinois wrestling, they are one of the mainstay programs. They've been extremely successful throughout the years. Just some of the people I could mention, you had Caitlin Chase, who was probably I think the first and only female state qualifier in the state of Illinois. And then her brother Jimmy Chase, who was a state champ and then competed in the 2008 Olympic trials in Las Vegas for Greco-Roman. Mark Schultz, I remember, was a former assistant coach at Loras. Obviously, Brian Murphy, was not just a quarterback on the football team, but now he's wrestling at Michigan. And then Vince and Tony Ramos. Vince, he did MMA for a while, and I think he was assistant coaching. I don't know if he still is. And obviously, Tony, was an NCAA champ and also a world team member, competed in the Olympic trials. And then four-timer Jared Cortez. So again, when I talk about Glenbard North, we're talking about a team that's been in the mix and has, when we talk about dual team state, they've been in the mix in that for years. Real quick.
I actually had some records at one point.
Yeah.
30 years ago. It's amazing that you go through that list and you hear these kids. Mm-hmm. And,
and those are just recent.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing list of talent. That's again in 1989. I don't think that that anybody would have saw that happening. But I can tell you that the roots of all that stuff were definitely built. That's for sure. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, and you've literally, let's face it, you built a program from the ground up. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, Lake Highland Prep right now is a nationally ranked team. Last year, you guys were in the top 10, and and given your lineup, who knows next year?
The goal is number one, so I won't stop this process until I get there, and hopefully I don't die before then.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, and real quick, Joe, you guys used to have a really intense rivalry with Carl Sandburg.
Yeah.
It's fallen off a little bit, but I mean, speak about that, because a lot of times within high school, it's defined by rivalries. Like, within the Catholic League, there were certain rivalries. For a long time within the publics, Glenbard North and Carl Sandburg had a very intense rivalry.
Yeah, again, they're well coached. Eric, Tony Siebert, and you got Coach Poles up there. I mean, those guys. I mean, they're ready to. Their kids are ready to wrestle, and we got to be ready to wrestle as well. And sometimes when we go up there, they come down here. We're not, and it goes back and forth. And again, they're well coached. Right now, our rival right now, I would say, would be Wheat North. They're also coached by former Glenbard North wrestler Travis Cherry.
Travis. Yeah, right. Travis Cherry. Right.
So every time we see either a duel or tournament, it's there's a lot of barking going on, but it's really fun. I wrestled with Travis, so I can get under his skin, he can get under my skin. It's all good fun. I love Travis, but it's good for our sport. Rivalries are good for the sport, and I always tell Travis, as long as I'm breathing, Wheat North will never lose or never lose. But he says it's going to happen this coming year, so we'll see. It was supposed to happen.
He's not as like us. It's not as a nope.
Are they good?
All right.
Are they good this year?
Yeah, they're tough. They're and they had a lot of guys at Fargo. And so they're going to be, again, they're well coached and they're going to be ready. They were supposed to beat us last year, and once again they fell short. Again, I know they're going to be they're well coached. I know, Travis and I are from from the same breed, so I know they're going to be ready. So.
Okay, and Austin, who are the guys that who do you work with in practice? Who pushes you in practice?
It's definitely Joe and Coach Hahn, without a doubt. Joe is always like right next to me. He's pushing me, making sure I'm working the hardest in the room. And then when I'm practicing, I always see Coach Hahn. I'm always looking at Coach Hahn because when he's looking at me, I'm going even harder. Even since I've been little, I've always wanted to wrestle for him. And whenever he says to do something, I'm doing it 100 times more than everybody else. So he's a big part of my wrestling career.
Okay, but fellow guys on your team, who your workout partners?
Definitely Abe Assad.
Who had a pretty good Fargo.
Yeah. Mikey Mylan, who graduated last year, he was my partner all year. So those are really two of the main guys. And then I'll practice with the JV guys because they need to get better and I need to get better. And working with them, they'll get good.
All right,
yeah,
and
Mike.
Go ahead, Joe.
I said they definitely don't take it easy on us, and we got this kid Juan Rivera who's tough to nail, and he's always been right behind Austin, and believe me, he goes after Austin, and he does. I mean, he takes it to him, that's we got a JV1 guy coming after the number one guy, arguably the number one best guy in the nation at his weight, and Juan Rivera's coming after him, and that's good to see as a coach.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of those guys to sustain a solid wrestling program. The JV guys, the freshmen, the sophomores, the guys coming in, obviously the feeder programs, the kids programs, and Coach Palazzo, what within your state, who do you consider like your rival in Class 1A?
Well, in 1A, in our class, in our division, it would be Clay. These guys are always plugging away and always have a team, and the guy makes the best of what he's got each and every year. He's been doing it forever. He's a Florida Hall of Fame coach. It's Coach Reap, and he's a stand-up guy, and he really does a great job. He really does. He might be really outmatched right now, but I know he's scratching and clawing and trying to figure it out, and hopefully he'll he will. He'll put a better and better product out on the mat. I'm sure of it. Since it's kind of probably pushing him to get there, and that's a good thing for the state, and I think it helps everybody. I think that when I started this thing at this school, it was always this class thing. It was like, you're 1A, and you're the small school, and my personality, I would be steaming when I heard stuff like that. I only know that there's one person on a wrestling mat at a time, so I can't figure out how I can make that excuse. So our immediate goal around here was to be the best team in the state and be able to quantifiably show that we are the best team in the state. And I don't care what class we happen to be because we have 500 kids in our upper school.
Right. So out of class, just let's say talk Florida statewide. Who would you say would be your biggest rival?
Well, right now it's going to be South Dade.
Okay.
South Dade, and those guys have done some amazing things. Brandon has always been in the mix, and might be down a little bit now, but I would never count Russ Cozart out. That guy has done some amazing things. He's an amazing coach. I've actually learned a lot from him. And right now, like I said, maybe they're down a little bit, but I wouldn't expect them to be out for too long. But if you wanted to look at another team, it's South Dade. They're a hotbed down there in Miami, and they got athletes. Like Kendrick Sanders is a South Dade guy, so that'll give you an idea of the kind of guys that roll through there.
Okay, and looking forward to next season, what kind of, obviously you said you're in the Ironman for the first year, you're in the class the first year, so what are your goals given your lineup, because you guys are loaded? And speaking real quick on class, we've had that argument here in Illinois for years, particularly, when we talked about schools like Montini, who, we had the two-class system, 1A, 2A, and then we've been through that whole argument here in this state for years. So I know exactly where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, again, it's not. I do. It's true. Obviously, if you have more numbers, it does make sense that there's some kind of separation. I might be just a little bit crazy and think that I couldn't be in a room not thinking that somebody would say, yeah, you guys are pretty good, but you're Class A. So that motivated me to kind of just start putting everybody on the schedule and not really thinking about our division and kind of going out there and wrestling everybody. It really helped. I told our kids when I started this process that gauge yourselves appropriately and you'll get a lot farther. And that means understanding how good an Austin Gomez really is and what you would really need to do to beat a kid like that. And don't keep yourself in your neighborhood. You might end up a lot, not going to go as far as you might think. So we've done a pretty good job of that, of gauging ourselves, and I think our guys understand what it takes to get to the highest level. But we got a lot of work to do.
Well, you had a great season last year. So again, I say, now, how do you look to improve on last season going into this season, and given your schedule?
Well, the schedule kind of lays it out for us, so it's all there for the taking. I mean, we're either going to be there or we're not. I think we got to have a few things fall into place with where people's weights are going to pan out. Right now, I got everybody still lifting hard and trying to probably get as big as they can and take that time to let their bodies mature and not keep bringing them out. But we're getting a little closer here to hitting it harder. And, so I'll start seeing where everybody's weights pan out. I got a good idea of it, but I don't know for sure. And a lot of that will kind of tell, how powerful we'll be. But team's going to be pretty good, and I would say that it's just pretty good because of the amount of work that I've seen happen with this group of kids in the last 4 months. They're all on board. They're all 100% in, and they've lived a pretty strenuous life up until this point, and they're pretty motivated. So I'm expecting good things.
And I think, what you're saying and echoing, what Joe and Oster are saying, for those who want to succeed, not just as individuals but as a program, one, you need to buy into the system, and you need to be ready to make this a year-round commitment.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt. We don't get the luxury too much of getting that football exchange here. That's one of probably the harder things with a small school. But we're again blessed to have a solid group of guys and an underliner of a bunch of younger kids that are coming up that are 100% full-blown 365-day-a-year wrestlers, and that's a formula for success for sure. That's working pretty well.
Okay, and Joe, real quick, you guys had a little bit of an off year this year. Admittedly, rebuilding, whatever you want to call it. What are you guys looking for going into the next season, and possibly what your program has coming up for the future?
Well, our feeder program is pretty solid. We got Villamar Wrestling Club, and we also got Gomez Wrestling Academy. In next 4 or 5 years with some of these Gomez kids, we'll definitely we're going to be up there. It's going to be sooner than that. To be honest with you, we got a really group of Gomez kids that are coming on in, a good group of Villamar kids coming on in, and with both these programs, and it's definitely helps Glenbard North. Again, we're going to do our job. Go in and work every day and try to get better. I mean, that's the only thing we can do. Wrestle the people out in front of us and try not to look too much ahead. Worry about each day at a time and take it from there.
All right. Again, Austin, obviously I was speaking earlier about your focus going into next season. Obviously being one of the best wrestler in the room, you see your role, your role as a leader on the team. And what do you feel like you need to do going into next season, to help your teammates focus, get better?
It's really just push these guys every single day to show them that what they can be, and show them that this program can be something special if they're all in, like Joe said, and not cheat themselves on a rep in the weight room, a lap maybe on the track. Just make sure they're pushing themselves every single day in the wrestling room, in the weight room, and everything else.
Okay, and again, all the guys in your program, I mean, for the most part, buy into this as a year-round commitment, correct?
Yeah, about half. I mean, we got about another. That's mostly the bigger guys. They play football.
Because you got football players. You have a good football program there.
Yeah, we do. We got a really solid football program. So it's sometimes it's difficult. But again, the football team's really good. We got some great coaches over there. We got some coaches over there that understand football and wrestling go hand in hand. We got some people that don't. I mean, so again, it's a battle trying to keep these guys off wrestling around, and then sometimes it's a battle for them to keep these guys
Smart.
playing football or lifting. And I mean that's the truth. We can both be better as long as we just keep working with each other. And again, we hope best for each sport, and hopefully we just keep plugging on in.
Okay, and real quick before I wrap this up, Mike, go ahead. Any comments you want to make? Anything? Just go ahead. Speak your mind.
Look, I think this Glenbard North thing, I talk about it a lot. I don't know, people don't necessarily realize, but, when I started this program here, one of the very first things I did with this very small group of kids was show them a Glenbard North wrestling highlight video. And I'm pretty sure Joe was on it. But from one of those years where, and these guys, they put together the end of the season thing, and it's a real motivating thing, and it kind of tells a little bit of a tale about a season and what that grind is like, and the highs and lows of it. But that's how attached to it I was. I mean, and it's crazy. I mean, I got this goofy thing up here in my office. Look, nobody really looks at it.
Yeah.
One of probably the most, if I was more proud of anything, it's probably this thing.
Is that a bobblehead?
And if you look at it, it's like 1986, Lombard North dedicated guy.
That's pretty cool. We need one of those. I'm jealous.
But I have one, and it's not easy to get. It really isn't. Not around that place. I get to but it's things like that, believe it or not, it carries over a lifetime. They're lessons that I could teach a kid. When I was doing well, when I was in high school, and I wasn't nearly what these guys are. But the lessons are being taught, and I think that's, and again, as an adult, you keep that fire burning, you become a pretty successful guy in all kinds of different ways. So Glenbard North Wrestling has touched many, many different, guys, and helped us for the better, that's for sure. And this Lake Highland Prep program, it will always, be indebted in some way connected to Glenbard North, because I've learned tons from Mark Hahn. And, and the whole program and the way that they put it together, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they've gone about building that tradition. And, so it does. It's pretty deep-rooted around here, believe it or not.
Okay, well, speaking of tradition real quick, and, given the Highlanders' colors, the red and white, do you foresee your guys ever dyeing their hair red?
No. My guys, I have this idea, and I have to preach to my guys a lot, and I'm probably a very conservative nerd. But, long hair is not acceptable. What do you got to show up, and this is how you look, and that's it. Again, so I don't know if that will ever happen. You're never going to convince me of it, and I'm not. And they start dyeing their hair. So no.
Okay. All right, and going back to you, Joe and Austin, any comments you guys want to make before we wrap this up?
No, again, training. We just got to practice, so that's why we're just kind of still in the wrestling room still. But we actually got my uncle started Agony at the Ames.
Agony Ames.
Was it October 29th?
Yeah.
So it's a big event. We got some of the best kids of Illinois. I'm coaching with Israel Martinez there for Team Illinois.
Okay.
And Dan
Is he from Montini?
Yes, Dan Knight's coaching at Team Iowa, and excuse me, I'm drawing a blank with the other coach, but we got some really good matchups, and we got a really solid team with Team Illinois, so hopefully we'll pull it off.
Austin, anything you want to add?
Not really. I'm really looking forward to this. My last senior year of wrestling in high school. I'm just really looking forward to it, and the team aspect of it. I'm really gonna miss it when I'm done.
Alrighty. Real quick, Craig, you want to add something before I shut this down?
Just want to say thanks. It was a great show tonight, and thanks to AJ Rodriguez who helped us put this together. And look for another great one. And you want to tease the September one, Mac, or is it too early to?
Well, first off, let me say again, thank you to you and AJ, and I want to thank our guests here tonight, Joe and his nephew Austin Gomez, and of course Lake Highland Prep coach Mike Palazzo. Feedback. Any listeners here? We posted links all over Wrestling Rooms. Please, we'd love to hear your feedback. Anything you want to say, criticism, don't care. And I'm working on a September podcast already. Nothing I really want to tease yet, but it might have kind of a wrestling judo connection if it works out. So again, I want to thank you guys for your participation tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And I hope our listeners enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, Mac. And just to explain, highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, we are working on getting podcasts at the grassroots level from every state. We've got Utah going strong, Illinois, some Florida podcasts, a little bit from Colorado. And so if anyone listening out there is tied into the wrestling community in your state, we'd love to hear from you and see if you can help us get that going. So anyways, thanks everybody for being on today.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Thank you guys.
Okay, we'll see you next time.